Oh, get ready. Tonight we're reviewing Monday Night Raw, and one of the worst Monday Night Raws that I've ever been a part of. It actually made me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. Let's get everything started right now.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
Alrighty guys, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Hang on to your hats, or whatever you're wearing. Maybe you're not wearing a hat. Hang on to something, because this one could be brutal. This one's going to be brutal, and not for the purpose of clickbait. Not just because we're a podcast that's controversial, or because it's the cool thing to hate on something, or that we love negativity, or whatever else you may be thinking, or maybe somebody who's tuning in for the first time and you're a new listener, and you may be thinking, oh no, it's one of those podcasts that just rips on WWE the entire time. It just trashes WWE. There's nothing good they ever have to say. No. I want to have a disclaimer right up front. We give credit where credit is due, and we have praised many things going on in wrestling as of late. Many things. We love Drew as champion. The Roman Reigns storyline is the best thing happening in wrestling, period, right now. You know, there is some good quality wrestling. We just came off of one of the best pay-per-views ever in 2020 of TLC. We praise things when it's deserving. And boy, do we destroy things when it's deserving. And last night, you witnessed the epitome of everything that is wrong with professional wrestling wrapped into 3 hours. It had everything. It had everything from cringeworthy moments to legends that don't belong in WWE any longer to a returning star that interjects himself into a WWE championship match just because he's back and WWE Vince thinks he's worthy of a championship match at 50-some years old. We have botches that were just reminiscent of the Divas era. We have a segment at the beginning of the show that was as bad can be. It may have topped Bayley, This Is Your Life, if you remember that from a few years ago when Alexa Bliss put that together. This was an abomination of a Raw, and we should have known. We should have known how bad the show was going to be at the very few seconds that opened the show. Because we had Hulk Hogan, who was talking about an iPhone, and he got like a custom-made backplate for his phone that was kind of looked like it was done in like art class. It wasn't very good, of Hulkamania. And he's talking about, we all know what the iPhone is, brother. And he like, what do we care about your phone? I don't understand this. Hulk Hogan has worn out his welcome in WWE in terms of being a ratings draw. I don't mind seeing him in special appearances, or when it's time, maybe WrestleMania season where he's there to wrestle, the Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, and he's there to amp things up as just kind of that little extra juice. But on the Legends Raw, that was again just abysmal. It was not something that added to the show. Hulk Hogan did not add to the show. And having Drew McIntyre do the Hulkamania thing with the catchphrases with Hulk Hogan, suddenly they realized the camera's there, right? They've been talking. Him and Sheamus and Hulk were talking. And all of a sudden, they realize the camera's there. Well, that's the whole point. We're not supposed to know that you're aware the camera may be there. We're supposed to, as a sports enthusiast, most of you out there who are watching wrestling, who like wrestling, most of you, I would assume, like other professional sports, football, baseball, maybe even soccer. Okay, that's actually a little bit of a thing. And basketball, whatever it may be. But when you're watching that, you don't want necessarily the players to be aware that you are, that they know that they're on camera, that they just want to play and you're just kind of a fly on the wall watching what's going on. Well, in wrestling, you want to be able to feel like you are watching guys and gals chase championships, settle feuds, deal with personal issues, and you just want the camera to kind of just be there to catch things, right? And it's all of a sudden, boom, they're just aware the camera's there and they go right into like promo mode. That was bad. I don't blame Drew McIntyre. I don't think he was too damaged by it. The Legends go away next week, thank God. There's just too many of these. There's too many of these All-Star nights, these Legends nights. There's too many of the bring back the old generation to generate a buzz and give a rub to the new guys. No, the new guys are doing just fine. It's not. It's almost as if the new talent, the new men and women coming up now, especially the women's division, they've gotten a real big bolster over the last 5 years. The men who have, I think, done a nice job over the last few years, particularly Drew McIntyre, among others. The Hurt Business doing very well as of late as too. I mean, these men and women of today almost don't need those stars. It's almost those stars of yesterday need the stars of today to stay relevant. It's almost reversed. It's gotten to the point that scales have tipped. It is no longer the legends adding to the stars of today. It is now the stars of today adding to the legends of yesteryear, hanging on to relevancy. And I know I'm probably being a little loud in your ear right now. I'm trying not to yell. I really have not been that disgusted or embarrassed to be a wrestling fan more than I was last night on Raw. Maybe the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in May was close. That match itself was just, you guys know my thoughts on that Money in the Bank ladder match, which was maybe single-handedly the worst match I've ever seen in my entire life from so many levels. But from an entire show, a single show's perspective is what I am referencing. The single show's perspective of having a Monday Night Raw like this, especially on your road to WrestleMania. We are now on the road to WrestleMania. Okay? I don't want to hear that, it starts at the Rumble. No, because yes, the Royal Rumble is technically the start of the road to WrestleMania, but what about the road we're going on now? We're going directly to Royal Rumble. So we are indirectly on the road to WrestleMania. So once that calendar flips, every year we all look to Rumble Mania. Let's go, right? And they pull this with the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart there, Alicia Fox, who's somehow classified in somebody's brain on acid that she's a legend. Somehow, some way, she's a legend. I don't know how she's classified as anything but just a bad representation of the Divas era. Yes, she's an attractive woman. I don't care. She didn't belong on Legends Raw, among others. Molly Holly's not a legend. I'm sorry. This is I know I'm getting into technicalities here with Legends, but if you're going to call it Legends Raw, then it should be Legends. Hulk Hogan's a legend. Ric Flair's a legend. Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, I would agree he's a legend. But a lot of these men and women, I'm sorry, don't qualify. IRS, he's not a legend. Oh God, that's not even the tip of the iceberg, though. Like, putting the phraseology aside, putting the fact that, like, I'd say 70% of the people on last night's Raw were not qualified as legends. Many of them not even in the Hall of Fame. How can you classify somebody that's not in the Hall of Fame as a legend? Kind of goes hand in hand. Furthermore, you have Hulk Hogan start off Raw with this nonsense, this absolute nonsense of the phone thing. I should have known. It made no sense. And then came The Miz and Morrison. It's almost as if Vince McMahon somehow accessed my brain and was somehow able to just get into the part of my brain that despises what I hate about wrestling. Like, things that I can't stand about wrestling, and created that last night. Like, he created my worst nightmare. With all this said, though, there was one bright spot, which I'll get to. One out of the entire night. And I'll get to that. And no, it's not Goldberg. Okay. So we get The Miz and Morrison doing their usual, it's usually just god-awful terrible. I was fighting my hands to scrub through this segment Scrub it to just not just go to the next thing, because I cannot handle those two. And I cannot, again, I want to be very clear for those that may be thinking, oh, see, they did their job. You're mad at them. No. Good heel heat is Randy Orton during the summer of 2020. Good heel heat is Roman Reigns from August of 2020 until the present day. That's really good heel heat. And that's not heel heat that would make you cheer for them because they're doing a good job. They are old school heels right now. Randy Orton has cooled off, but he's still got that talent there. Miz and Morrison are not the heel heat that I want. They're not anything I want on TV. Character-wise. They're embarrassing. They're men nearly in their 40s, acting like they're 15-year-old sophomores in high school, playing jokes and pranks and coming up with catchphrases. If I hear the word correct said one more time, I really was going to throw my phone across the room. I was just fuming and embarrassed for that segment. It really put me in a foul mood. I tweeted out. I mean, I was watching Raw for 10 minutes. And I said, I cannot, this is god awful. You start off with a first Raw of 2021. The first Raw on the road to WrestleMania. With this? That's your ace in the hole? That is what you want people to gravitate to and hopefully hang on to for the next 3 hours? That's your hook? That's sad. I don't know. Is there anyone on this earth, I'm really asking you, genuinely, is there anybody that actually enjoys Miz and Morrison in their current iteration, their current version of themselves? As they are presently constituted, does anyone on this earth enjoy Miz and Morrison either from an entertainment standpoint, whether you actually like their characters, or whether you actually think they're good heels and you want to see them get beat up and that would satisfy you? To me, they check 0 of those 3 boxes. 0. None. They do nothing but embarrass me as a wrestling fan. I'm serious. I don't mean this to be controversial. You're overreacting. No, I'm not. Who is feeding this to Vince to think this is a good idea? Furthermore, even if the Miz TV segments were actually halfway decent every week, even if they were, which they're not, they are the low point of the week, and I'm talking the absolute low point of the week. I don't care if it's the dirt sheet of Miz TV. They're just piss poor. Whatever it is, even if they were halfway decent, they are throwing them out there 9 out of 10 weeks in a row. I think last week they gave us a break. But look at the streak before that. Look at the Raws. It's almost every single Raw. We either open with it or it's the mid-show, right? The 9 or 10 o'clock hour it starts with. And it's terrible because the characters of Miz and Morrison are... I don't know who created them. Whoever created them should be fired. Seriously, and I mean that. Whoever came up with it and then Vince stamped his approval on it? Who's laughing at this? Maybe nobody, but the thought is maybe, oh, well, you're not supposed to laugh at their characters. You're supposed to be annoyed. Yeah, I'm annoyed with the fact that you actually created these characters as a part of your show that I'm supposed to watch. Fans shouldn't want to tune out of your show because it's so obnoxious. There's a difference between having a character that you hate and, oh my god, I can't stand him, and you want to see the babyface beat the holy hell out of him. And then there's characters like Miz and Morrison that act like 15-year-old sophomores in high school and think that they're funny and come up with these phrases and they're not, and you want to change the channel. Big difference. Oh, and by the way, you get the second worst personality tag team on Raw of the New Day coming in. This made it worse. And maybe that's what really ramped it up a notch, was the Miz, or the New Day coming in. Kofi Kingston. You know, the guy that was the Miracle Kid who started at Elimination Chamber in 2019 and had the Miracle Run through WrestleMania, right? and then got beaten by Brock Lesnar on the very first edition of Fox on SmackDown, which I believe was July of 2019. He had the 6-month run, and boom. And then, by the way, the next week, throwing pancakes, doesn't care. That guy, which I was never a fan of character-wise when he was champion, because he never took it seriously, and I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole, and then didn't care when he lost at all. So we take that, and we take Xavier Woods, who I don't think would be serious at his own mom's funeral. In character, of course. I'm not actually believing although I think there is an element to him like that. Comes out trumpeting his horn. They're making jokes that don't make sense. They're talking about cooking shows or something. Like, what the hell what's happening? And then they're both saying correct as long and as loud as they can, as if it's somehow entertaining to someone backstage that's getting a knee-slapping reaction out of this. This was terrible. Terrible. If you enjoyed this as a fan, I really want to send you to 4 Wins. Because in 4 Wins, by the way, guys, is like a mental health institution here up in New York. Okay, if you don't know the reference, I don't know if there's 4 Wins everywhere. I almost said 4 Seasons, but I think 4 Seasons is like a hotel, like a luxury hotel. But nonetheless, okay, so we get Teddy Long. Okay, Teddy Long comes out to my absolute delight, and they were going for humor here, and I was modest about this. I probably wouldn't have been so positive about it had the segment I just watched not been so absolutely god-awful. But Teddy Long says that, Miz and Morrison are going to face The Undertaker. And then we have Adam Pearce come out correcting him, and he makes a tag match. That's what Teddy Long does. Okay, I have no problem with this. It stopped the segment, which was the most important part to me. It ended the segment. That's what I loved. So, we get a tag team match, and the tag team match was standard. It was fine. It was fine. I had no issue with the tag team match itself, per se, because number one, it ended the segment, which was always really good. But they're all decent in the ring. Good to very good in the ring. I will say that. So this ends with Xavier hitting John Morrison with a Shining Wizard for the win. Okay, fine. New Day win. I personally don't care, because I don't care from a character perspective about either team. I think both teams, character-wise, are just not entertaining. They're not funny. I don't love to hate them. I don't hate to love them. I just want them off of my screen. And you guys think I'm being dramatic, or maybe you think I'm exaggerating. When I was fighting my fingers, my brain was activating my fingers to skip through Miz TV. And I like to watch everything that's on the Hulu version, because I want to make sure I give you guys an authentic, a complete analysis of Monday Night Raw. And my fingers were starting, and I had to make a conscious decision to stop my hands. I think I lost a few IQ points watching that show. Okay. Hopefully next week is better. Okay. I don't like being this negative. I love to praise things, and I do have one thing to praise, which is coming later in the show. Okay. This isn't 100% negative, but I haven't come across a Monday Night Raw this terrible in quite some time. I don't know who directed this show, but okay. Then we get, Angel Garza's backstage and tries to give Alicia Fox a rose to celebrate his 24/7 title win. She rejected it and doesn't know about the cranberry juice skateboarder. Instead, oh God. We get to Tonka. We have Mickie James and Sergeant Slaughter. I'm just done. I'm just going to keep moving on. AJ Styles versus Elias. Okay, AJ Styles gets the win, as he should, with the Styles Clash. Riker tries to hit AJ with the guitar, Jackson Riker and Elias seem to be like somewhat of a team now, because they both have beards and they kind of look alike, and I don't understand the relationship, but fine. It's something for Jackson Riker to do, and something different for Elias to work with, rather than just himself with the guitar. But Riker tries to hit AJ with the guitar, but almost kicks it out of his hands, shattering it. So, okay. So almost is starting to get a little more physically involved. This was an okay match, not very long, but it was fine. Okay. So then we get another theme running throughout the show. Okay. Excuse me. We get a little bit of a theme with Randy Orton. And it's Legends Raw. It makes sense that the Legend Killer would do something to the Legends. Now, I know he did this already during the whole, over the summer, he kicked Ric Flair, Big Show, Mark Henry. I mean, he went through a laundry list of legends. And he even attacked them in like a poker game. Remember when he had night vision on? I think Shawn Michaels was in there and whatever. They didn't have to take any bumps. They all just say, hey, guys, lay on the ground. Great way for you to not take bumps, but pretend you did. It's fine. I mean, I don't want guys that old taking bumps anymore. It's fine. I'm not complaining about that. But having Randy Orton here and punking out the legends. Now, I will say this. I understand the reasons for it. He's the Legend Killer. He's going to agitate the legends or do something to the legends. So far, so good. I understand the logic. There is some brain cells being rubbed together here when this idea came about. So good. But here's where things again fall off the rails for me. Randy Orton punks out Big Show, who's backstage. And Big Show says that I can have a match anytime I want. Randy Orton, puts his hand around his neck and sits him down. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you just told Randy you can have a match, when in your career have you ever let somebody put your hands on you and you just stand there? Why did all the legends cower to Randy Orton? I'm not, especially Big Show, who's not in that vulnerable of a position. I'm not following this. They all just kind of kowtowed, put their tail between their legs, and kind of scurried off into the sunset. No, Randy, please don't hurt me. Especially Mark Henry. We'll get to him too. But what the F is going on? I'm like, why is Big Show just taking this? He's a foot taller. He looks like he's fine. What the hell is going on? Oh my God. So Mark Henry, who's apparently got knee surgery. I'm not privy to that, but that's what I would assume with his little roller he's got going around. Goes out and starts punking out Mark Henry. And Mark Henry is basically saying, I need to get away from you. And because Randy Orton's saying, how fast do you think that can go? How fast do you think you can wheel away from me? And Randy Orton, or Mark Henry basically is saying because Randy Orton asked where he's going, and he said, as far away from you as I can be, or something like that. That's all he had to say? The strongest man in the world? That's all this dude has to say to Randy Orton? That's it? The Hall of Pain? What? I know that you're got a bum leg, but you can't just retort a little bit instead of just cowering to Randy Orton? Bullying these legends? Bullying them? Why are they sitting there taking this? Now, again, I understand the logic too, and the actual safety measures that you don't want these men to really take bumps. They're not at the age where you want. Maybe Big Show is probably the most able-bodied. But you don't want Ric Flair taking a bump. You don't want Mark Henry taking a bump if he's actually injured. Okay? I understand that. But last I checked, all of their voice boxes work. So why aren't they scathing back at Randy? Why are we just sitting there allowing Randy Orton to say all these things, do all these things, punk them out, and all of a sudden these legends of wrestling, they just kind of cower. What? Oh boy. Okay. Then we get, oh my God, I don't even know where to start with this. I'm sorry I'm sighing so much, guys. Asuka and Charlotte Flair versus Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. Now, not only did we get a really just lackluster, just to almost bad pre-taped promo from Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans, talking about how they're legends or something, I don't know, and one thinks they're talking about the other. It was just embarrassing. It was bad. It was like 4 steps back for the women there. But during this match, 2 major things happened that were bad. Really bad. The natural selection on Peyton Royce was ouch. And the announcers did the best they could to cover. the best way to cover is when a match or a move doesn't go as expected, and you can tell it didn't go as expected. It's usually pretty obvious. The announcers cover as they should by saying, oh, I don't know if he or she got all of it. That's fine. It happens all the time. It's a good cover. No problem. Because you acknowledge what you saw, but you don't fully go, whoa, she missed it. But at the same time, that person's selling it. So I totally understand. It's kind of taken the middle of the road. I know what I saw, but maybe she didn't get all of it. Fine. I have 100% backing on that. But it was so bad. It was so bad. I would say it was about 80% Peyton Royce's fault, 20% Charlotte. Because Charlotte didn't hit it exactly perfect, okay? But Peyton Royce just sat there like a child and then just like fell on her face. It was a bad botch. Really bad. Like, yikes, bad. I don't think this did any favors for Peyton Royce, and they probably regret and rue the day that they broke up the Iconics. It makes no sense. But even worse than that, and that was bad enough. Which, look, mistakes happen in wrestling. Botches happen. I'm understanding of that. But this was, number one, this was a really egregious botch. The good thing about this botch, from a safety perspective, is nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. Okay? Some botches can go really badly, and you can injure yourself or your opponent very easily. So that's a good thing. But the more egregious thing that happened here was the Ric Flair segment, the Ric Flair portion of this match. He attempted, I believe, to grab Peyton Royce and grab Charlotte. Now, I really don't know, or I don't know if they know where they went with this. Because the announcers phrased it, one of them phrased it as, it was a mistake, it was a miscalculation. And I think I think that was Byron, and Tom Phillips was talking about how, what are you talking about? Right? Like, that was not an accident. Because here's the thing. It didn't look like an accident. It wasn't as if that split second, I meant to trip Peyton, but I accidentally tripped, my own daughter. It was a big delay between Peyton bouncing off the ropes and then Charlotte bouncing off the ropes. There was a huge gap in time where there's zero excuse for Ric Flair to mistake Peyton Royce for Charlotte. Okay? Or Charlotte for Peyton Royce. There is no excuse for that. That was terrible. Because now, like, even if it, let me just say this. Both ways are unacceptable. Because if you have Ric Flair intentionally doing this in storyline wise, well, why? Why would you have Ric Flair intentionally do this? What's the motive for a 75-year-old man who's not wrestling anymore, and you can't wrestle women anyway? What's the objective in a match that means nothing? What are we getting at? Number two, if it was accidental, and we're supposed to believe it's accidental, and I'll ride that fairy tale into imagination land. Well, then that makes Charlotte or Ric Flair look like an idiot. And it really hurts Charlotte Flair because you're having your dad still trying to help you, but you're a babyface? So I'm not understanding this. You're causing tension between the father and daughter. It doesn't need to be there anymore. We went through that. Do you guys remember the whole storyline? Charlotte was initially all about having daddy there, and then she trashed her dad and like really belittled him, I think, on SmackDown a couple of years ago, and just really took it out on him. I think she slapped him. It was really bad, brutal. And then they're suddenly friends again, and you're all good, and now Ric Flair does this. We don't know if it's intentional or not. You know what? I don't care. Because both don't make sense. None. I don't care what outcome it is. This should not have happened. It was just bad. And then Charlotte gets in Ric's face and says, stay away from me, and basically tells him to go, and Ric Flair cowers for the second time in the night after being run down by Randy Orton. Or maybe Randy Orton happened second. Regardless, it was not a good night for Ric Flair. Not a good night, who just continued to get cowered by his daughter and then by his former Evolution member in Randy Orton. And Randy Orton came up to him And Rick said that I just wanted to be with you. And why isn't Rick more angry? I know he can't take bumps, but you can have a verbal spar. And Rick is just still kind of like sad about it. You got kicked in the skull, bro. Why are you even still worrying about being with this guy at his side? Randy Orton, called him a broken down old man, blah, blah, blah. He's not the Ric Flair that, you're not the Ric Flair that taught me everything I know. Well, no kidding. It's called Father Time. Why does he have to be the man that he used to be? How can anyone expect that? I don't know. This whole thing was void of logic. God. All right, let's move on. Yeah, okay, we get the Claymore Mania thing with Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, Sheamus, and Hulk Hogan. And again, that's the segment where they're suddenly aware of what's going on. Oh my God. And they suddenly know there's a camera there. Okay. Then we get to a spot that I thought was going to be a bright spot, and partially it was, with Riddle versus Bobby Lashley. These two are very good together. Two pros. Matt Riddle, again, his in-ring work is very good. I love how physical he is. I've said that a number of times. I love his in-ring style. It's very stiff in a good way. And he has legit athletic credentials as a background. That doesn't hurt. I'm still not a fan of his chill, bro. Everything's bro. You got to add bro to everything. It's so amateur. And this was a fairly good match. So I said, it felt like I could breathe again. And then they did the big swerve and just took my breath away again with the Hurt Lock being applied to Riddle. Riddle taps out as a babyface, but he doesn't tap out in front of the referee. So then MVP and Lashley are arguing with the referee. And what does the babyface Riddle do? He gets a roll-up victory on Lashley, the United States champion. Again, this is a heel in a babyface position and a babyface in a heel's position. This should not... I don't know why or who came up with this. Whoever came up with the finish to this match doesn't understand heel and babyface, the good guy, bad guy booking. It's that simple. How do you not understand that this is not a finish you do for a babyface and a heel? It's the reverse. You want the babyface to look as strong as possible. Why would all the fans know that he actually tapped out and then get a roll-up victory and support that? Not only how bad the ending was in terms of just logic with face and heel, but also you got the roll-up victory, right? So it's double down bad. It doubles down on the terribleness of filling the quote of doing a roll-up victory. And on top of that, WWE is clearly trying to get Riddle into the United States title picture. And that's fine, I guess. But why does it always have to be at the expense of a non-title win against the champion? Can we just have a tournament once in a while? Can we do something that's beyond attacking the champion or getting a non-title victory? They could have done so much more to get him the victory. It could have been a count out, right? Save Bobby Lashley. No egg on anyone's face. But a roll-up victory after all that? Oh, my God. Okay. Dana Brooke versus Shayna Baszler. Mandy Rose is attacked by Shayna as she comes down the ramp. And again, if it sounds like I'm reading it, it's because I am. I did see clips of this, but this was not on Hulu. So I apologize if it sounds like he's reading. What the hell's he doing? Yeah, I am reading it. Okay. Mandy Rose is attacked by Shayna as she comes down the ramp. Dana Brooke runs out and says she'll take on Shayna in Mandy's place. And Shayna looks to have an easy win, but Dana manages to steal a win with an awkward roll-up. After Brooke wins, Shayna tries to get her in a Karafuda clutch, but Mandy gives the assist with the running knee. The two women flapjack Shayna and celebrate. Oh, God. I didn't see that part. Okay. And there's a roll-up number 2. Apparently it was an awkward one. I guess that goes with Dana's personality. An awkward roll-up for an awkward personality. And look, I think Dana Brooke has a future that does include a women's championship. I think she's earned that in longevity. And I think in the back of fans' minds, they started to respect her. because of how long she stuck around and just taken the pinfall or submission in how many matches. So I think that's in her future, but a roll-up. It's got to be a roll-up, doesn't it? Seriously, somebody accessed my brain and said, like, they were sitting there, like, rubbing their hands, like, wait until Monday Night Raw, right? It feels like that for me. They just took my worst nightmares, and brought them to life for 3 hours. Okay. Let's move on. Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy. This is one of the small spots of the night. One of the small bright spots of the night. This was the one I was alluding to, which was Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. Now, Jeff Hardy hasn't won a match in probably... I keep referencing this, but I cannot come up with a date that's beyond this. And that is the last time Jeff Hardy winning a match, I believe, was the bar fight against Sheamus, like 3-4 months ago. It feels like Jeff Hardy has lost every single match since losing the Intercontinental Championship. I'm fairly sure on that. So, but Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy, what do you expect out of these two just absolute professionals, right? This was something I can say was actually very good, okay? I did not dislike this. I expected Jeff Hardy to lose. I thought maybe The Fiend or Alexa Bliss would show up, but they didn't. They're saving that, and I'm okay with that. I'm not in a rush to get The Fiend back. I like Alexa Bliss kind of sparingly used. It makes you feel more important and more special when she's there. Less is always more, as they say. And my goodness, is that true? So Randy Orton ends up getting a victory and just a beautiful turn of events, or beautiful reversal from the twist of fate to the RKO. I've seen it before, but it's so beautiful to see. It's great. And no kickouts. Randy Orton's RKO is so protected. It's one of the very few, one of the last. It's like an endangered species of protected finishers in WWE. And nobody almost ever kicks out of the RKO. I love it. So, Randy Orton getting the victory, fine. I really expected the legends to come down and do something. Maybe surround him and intimidate him. And then someone actually comes down and beats him up. Maybe Big Show, who can actually physically converse. So, okay. Lucha House Party versus the Hurt Business. Melina's backstage chanting with Lucha House Party. Oh, Lord. I'll say this. I haven't seen Melina in quite some time. That's been many years. So I guess it's okay to see her. And Lucha House Party has got one word to them, and that's Lucha. I mean, they're about as deep as Robert Roode's Glorious, right? Because that's really all they are. And I hate to say that, they're great in the ring. Personality-wise, Lucha. Robert Roode, Glorious. What's another thing beyond Robert Roode? I mean, he's starting to gel a little bit with Dolph Ziggler right now. That's a good thing, but 99% of his WWE career, he's been a one-word trick pony. So, okay. So, let's go on here to the WWE Championship here. Actually, let's wait. We're going to get to that in a minute. So I'm reading about the Lucha House Party here versus the Hurt Business. I do want to get to this because I think it's worth talking about, because I am a big Hurt Business fan. So Cedric Alexander, and again I'm reading this because they cut this off Hulu. Cedric Alexander is able to match the agility and athleticism of the Lucha House Party. The Hurt Business are easily overcoming Lucha House Party, but start to have dissension in the ranks, frequently tagging in and out. Lince Dorado is able to take advantage of this and pin Shelton with a crucifix. MVP just dresses them down afterwards, looking like Cedric is abandoning them. No. Why? Good God. And I'm also noticing the Black Lives Matter band on Cedric Alexander now. And look, I'm not alluding to any political affiliations. Believe whatever you want to believe. Support whoever you want to support. I have nothing against anything like that, okay? I'm not saying Black Lives do matter or don't matter in terms of an organization. Of course Black Lives matter. Like, I mean, absolutely. Like, the phraseology Black Lives Matter is absolute. Like, I 100% support that. But in terms of the organization, like, I mean, that's a different discussion. However, whatever your political affiliations are, I don't need to see them on a sports screen. Okay? I don't need to see them on baseball. I don't care if this said, because some people out there are probably thinking, I'm a big Trump supporter or something. Like, first of all, I'm not going to be talking about my political affiliations on this show or what I believe and don't believe in. But I don't care if it said, I love Trump. I don't care if it said, I hate Black Lives Matter. I don't care if it said, I love all lives. Whatever it is. I don't want to see anything that takes me out of professional wrestling into the real world. Because if it does, they're not doing their job. I have no problem with anybody supporting anything. That's your business. It's fine. Don't care. Don't feel that strongly about it. But when it comes to my professional wrestling, I don't need to see your political affiliations on your arm. Okay? I don't want to see it. I don't care what it said. Love Trump, hate Trump, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Doesn't matter. It's not the message I have a problem with. It's the platform you're using to take real world stuff and put it into a world of professional wrestling that you're supposed to dive into to escape that very thing. It's watching pro wrestling, watching sports. Hell, not just pro wrestling, watching sports in general. People do this to escape from reality, to escape maybe the stress going on in the world. Lord knows political news is just blowing up lately and will probably continue to over the next few days if you pay attention to what's going on. Things are insane. I don't need it to bleed into my Monday Night Raw. Okay, I'll just say that. Again, I'm not anti anything, right? I know some people probably, no. It's just get any political anything out of my sports, because that's where I go to escape. And when you start to attack my escape, that's where I have a problem. Okay, and so I want to be very clear about that. But nonetheless, storyline wise, Cedric Alexander, I was really, really hoping they wouldn't do this. What the F are they doing? What the hell are they doing with dissension between Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander? This better be really temporary and resolved quickly. These two have a great home right now. They're just getting going. What the hell are they doing? There's no need for this. There's none. It's two heels fighting one another, which makes it even less interesting. They're much better as a group. They gel as a group. He's the young up-and-comer. He's good on the mic. What the hell are these two doing? I love the Hurt Business right now. Oh, God, serious. This is bad. Okay. So then we get to the WWE Championship. Keith Lee versus Drew McIntyre. Now, I don't think there was anybody in this world, if you've been watching wrestling more than like a month, even less, would think that Keith Lee has a chance at beating Drew McIntyre on Raw. It just wouldn't have made any sense at all. It was all about making Keith Lee a legitimate star. And mission accomplished. So I will say that. That is one good thing, again, that came out of Monday Night Raw in the very, 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 very short positives column of Monday Night Raw. This was one. The match quality was very good. Effort on both men, very good. Props to both guys. Props to the whoever put this match together. Obviously, Drew McIntyre had a lot to do with, I'm assuming, a lot to do with how this match was put together as the champion. Keith Lee as the I guess I hate to say amateur, but the new guy on the block, even though he's not young. Okay, I don't want to say spring chicken, but he is the newer guy on the block. And it was great. And the Spanish Fly done by Keith Lee was insane. Now, you could argue this guy doesn't need to do it, and he probably doesn't. It's like seeing, what was it, the Viking Raiders doing cartwheels? I don't need to see that. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. I don't mind you being a big man to be a big man. Traditional big man, it's fine. But he did the Spanish Fly, and he executed it very well. And that was a spot I was like, oh my God. That actually brought me back in. I was like, it was like being able to go and breathe throughout the show. It took them 2 hours and 50 minutes, but they got there. And the match was really good. Really good. And the Claymore with the kick, no kick out, again, That's another very shortlisted, protected finish. Keith Lee lost, and then both men pounded each other, and no hard feelings. But it was very good. And having the legends watch on the stage, like, whatever. I don't even care. Like, fine. But then this happened. Oh, yes, Goldberg. Goldberg's back, guys. And his reason? Respect. Wait, what? Wait a minute. Respect? His reason for challenging Drew McIntyre is because he thinks that Drew thinks that he could beat anybody up there on stage. And that he is better than he is in his prime than any of them were in their prime. Oh, so now we're mind readers. So now Goldberg has these psychic abilities, right? So Goldberg just has acquired these abilities doing his jiu-jitsu at home or whatever he does. And furthermore, is Goldberg really a legend on Raw? You could argue that. You could argue Goldberg doesn't even belong there as a legend. But of course, if Alicia Fox is there, they've set the bar pretty damn low for how they define legends, haven't they? So Goldberg does this out of the whole respect thing, which makes no sense. And Drew even kind of alludes to that, saying, did you listen to me? I'm all about respect. And that's what Drew is. Drew is about respect. Drew has paid a lot of respect to all the legends. Like, every interview you hear, every promo, he talks about legends. He talks about what made him. He talks about how grateful he is. All the guys that helped him along the way. Listen to his Stone Cold podcast with the Broken Skull Sessions. I mean, good God. This logic is flawed right from the get-go. But not only that, that's not even the worst part. The worst part of this is Goldberg comes in and immediately is awarded a WWE Championship match. Why? Does Vince really believe, or does he have that little faith in the current roster that he feels like he has to bring in a guy that is admittedly in very good shape for his age? I cannot take that away from Goldberg. And as a man, as a human being, I have nothing against Goldberg. He is a decent human being. He's a family man. His personality mirrors mine in a lot of ways, with kind of being sheltered, don't like people, kind of an introvert, which is kind of weird doing a podcast, but people always ask me that, right? Side note, when people always ask me, well, if you're such an introvert, why do you do a podcast? Well, I'm talking to myself. I'm sitting in my own space doing a show by myself. Big difference. So we have Goldberg, again, as a man, I have no problem with him as a man. As a performer in WCW, wrestler in WCW back in the 90s, he was a force. He was the right guy in the right place at the right time. And he's a one-trick pony, well, with the spear and the jackhammer, two-trick pony. So, whatever. He fit in the 90s. But you bring him into today's product, even if he was a young guy, he wouldn't fit. You know why? Because today, wrestling fans value match quality. So you take a guy that's not only way past his, and really overstayed his welcome in WWE, and which, by the way, apparently he's got 3 matches left on his contract, so buckle in, folks. Buckle in. We could be in for a long ride with Goldberg. It's not over yet. But then you take a guy that is also perceptively taking the spot away from a younger guy that could be challenging Drew McIntyre. Or I thought it was going to be a triple threat with Sheamus and Keith Lee at the Royal Rumble, which I think it should have been. But then you get a guy taking a spot and immediately just earning an opportunity, coming in and challenging, and okay, he gets an opportunity. What the hell does that say? What does that say? And it shows the little faith that Vince has in the current roster, which is also concerning. And again, WWE is so lucky right now. So damn lucky they are not in front of real fans. I would have loved, imagine if this was in Chicago or something. Imagine if fans, if this return had happened in Madison Square Garden, Chicago, even LA, right? Like the big cities, it would have been a disaster, and I would have loved every damn second of it. So, again, I want to just differentiate because I'm destroying Goldberg, but it's not from a human perspective, not from a person perspective. It's from a wrestling logic perspective that in 2021, we are still talking about Goldberg in championship matches. And by the way, Drew McIntyre, who can have really, really good matches, is limited by Goldberg's 2 moves. So we're not only going to get a 50-some-year-old man in a match that he doesn't belong in to challenge Drew McIntyre. God will help him if he wins. That'll turn him into the biggest heel. Maybe that's the objective, is to turn Goldberg into a true heel. Maybe you could argue he turned heel tonight. You could argue that. Maybe they should just go with the punches there and stop trying to force it. And that was really the biggest promo that Goldberg has probably cut in his entire WWE return since 2016 when he returned, whatever the hell it was, to face Brock Lesnar. I don't know, whenever the heck that was. So this is bad on so many levels. Now, the optimist could say, well, you may not like it, but you're going to watch it. You know what? I am going to watch it because I'm a wrestling fan and I'm a WWE fan forever. Just like all of us who are going to sit here and you're probably shaking your head and you're like, yeah, this is awful. But you know what? As much as you hate it and I hate it, you know what's going to happen at the end of the day? That all WWE cares about is we're going to watch it. And they can laugh all the way to the bank with your WWE Network subscription. That's all they care about. You know, we could sit here on Twitter and trash this and that and this and that, but their ratings go up and you're watching it at the end of the day. They don't care because you're watching it. So if you really, 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 really want to show WWE, just stop watching, cancel your subscription, and call it a day. But look, none of us are going to do it. It's like we always complain about when Legends return, but you know what? Majority, and I know some people who aren't, but the majority of us are still going to watch it. So we're kind of hypocrites of ourselves, aren't we? Nonetheless, this is just terrible on so many levels. I'm not a Goldberg fan. From a wrestling perspective, he's extremely limited in the ring. Character-wise, he's not very good on the mic. He's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time, so to speak. This does nothing. This does nothing for anyone, and it probably angers a lot of the guys in the back to see a spot taken at the Royal Rumble for Goldberg. And plus the logic of respect. Out of everyone he could have chosen, Drew McIntyre is all about respect. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? Good Lord, what a way to end the first Raw of 2021. What a way to end it. It was certainly a Raw that will forever be cemented in my mind as the one Raw I completely loathed from start to finish. Yes, there were some spots I could come up for water. It's like I was underwater the whole time, and they gave me just enough breath to come up to the surface and breathe and go, and then they brought me right back down. That's exactly the way it felt. I was drowning as a wrestling fan. There are certain moments when you watch wrestling as a wrestling fan that you go, oh my God, this is why I effing love this sport. And it brings you into the moment. It gives you chills. Edge returning last year, right? At the Royal Rumble. I still watch that, and it still gives me goosebumps. And then there's moments like this that you question why you're a wrestling fan. There are shows like this that are that bad that you go, what the hell am I watching? Why am I watching this? And boy, would I be embarrassed if anyone knew I was watching this or had somebody with me watching this, wouldn't you? I don't think there's a person out there right now listening that could legitimately say to me, boy, I wish I had my friends there. They would have loved this. No. You were probably glad you're alone sitting on your couch as I was on my phone, on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, sitting there watching the show going, thank God I'm the only one that's watching this right now, or I would be damn embarrassed to be a fan. Because everything that I hate about wrestling in today's product was wrapped into 3 hours. Hoy. I don't think I've trashed an episode of Raw or SmackDown this badly since I've started podcasting. I'm serious, and I've been podcasting for 7 years now. Okay, I'm a wrestling fan. We all know, 97, so that's 24 years almost. But many of you longer than me, Many of you shorter than me. I hope that everyone listening within the sound of my voice can say to yourself, wow, if this is the bar, this is as bad as it gets, I'm still going to stick around. Because I encourage you to. Raw has been pretty good. SmackDown has been pretty good because of Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre's champion's been really good. But if you can survive this Monday Night Raw as a wrestling fan, then you can survive nearly anything else WWE throws at you. Because they just laid a complete egg. An egg is not the word I want to use. You know what word I want to use. They took a complete you-know-what in the middle of the ring. I almost made this an explicit show. Almost. Very close. But I know I have families that listen. I didn't want to have to worry about, turn down the speaker. And I do cuss mildly. You heard the swear words, okay? I know that I do, but it's like PG. It's nothing WWE wouldn't say on their shows. That's the way I keep it. So, anyway, guys, this was a rough episode of Monday Night Raw. Again, the worst I've seen in years. In years and years and years and years, maybe ever. This is up there in the top 3 worst Raws I've ever seen. It angered me. It made me embarrassed. It made me literally want to flip the channel on my, well, I shouldn't say channel. I don't have cable. So when I say flip the channel, it made me want to watch another show on Hulu. That's essentially what I mean. It made me want to go to, I don't know, Family Guy or something. It made me just want to tune out completely. And that's not a good thing. But look, the bar is set so low now that can only go up from here. The Legends are gone next week. Thank God. We can get back to regularly scheduled programming. That can get back on track, and we'll be 3 weeks away from Rumble, and hopefully things settle down at that point. And I hope you guys stick around too. I'm not discouraging you from watching WWE. They don't lay eggs this big very often. So if you enjoyed this show, I would love to check your temperature, make sure you're okay, make sure you have a pulse. And if you did, great. I'm curious to hear anybody else's thoughts, because tomorrow's my Monday night, or my mailbag. So if you're interested in leaving me a voicemail, you can do that. If you want to leave me a voicemail, why don't you call us? That phone number is 518-952-0247. So call us, leave us a voicemail, and I'll play it on tomorrow night's show along with Wrestling Nostalgia. I do 2 shows tomorrow night. So check that out. I'll leave a voicemail. If it's 3 minutes or less, I'll get it on the show. If you have multiple voicemails beyond 3 minutes, I only pick one, usually. Okay, I know that sometimes I do duplicate, but 3 minutes or less. And I want to know your thoughts on Monday Night Raw. I really do. If there's anybody out there in the sound of my voice enjoyed any part of this, which I did a few things. Like 2 things I mentioned that I actually enjoyed before they put me back underwater. And I'm curious to know. Email us too at realwwepodcast@gmail.com if you have other thoughts or questions or comments. You can also do that. And NXT will be back. We had a hiccup this week in NXT, but it'll be back this week with your review with Zach Smith. And then we have, of course, Friday Night SmackDown review with Michael Ritter, who will also be joining me this Sunday night for your weekend review. Michael Ritter, who covers SmackDown solo, will be joining me as a co-host for the weekend review this Sunday night. That'll be really fun to get together and finally do a show with him. And, of course, Mimi's week highs and lows in wrestling. So check that out as well, coming this weekend. Whew. Alrighty, guys. Well, hope everyone's doing well. Hope you are enjoying your day or night whenever you're listening to this. Take a deep breath. I know I'm going to do that. Maybe a shot or something, and try to relax. But as always, guys, until then, I'll talk to you soon.